Welcome, everyone, to the stories we must tell. I am so excited to have this amazing leader with me today, Rebecca Kim, Dr. Kim from the Kent Public School District in Washington, right here in my backyard. How exciting. Is just doing outstanding work as she leads the teaching and learning arm of the Kent Public School District and is doing amazing work with AI and technology and in terms of thinking about what this means for our schools today. And so as we get into that conversation, I love to be able to give you a chance to get to know Rebecca. Rebecca, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to see you again.
It's great to see you. I love seeing your presence all over the state and regionally, and love to talk about what's happening. But let's start with the fact that we're several months into the school year. There's so much going on.
Yes.
How is it going for everyone? How is it going for you?
It is very busy times. As we know, we have a lot of budget cuts. We no longer have ESSER funding to support us. And so we're doing a lot with less. We've had some staffing restructuring happening in teaching and learning. And so it's been quite busy. But we continue to keep our North Star around the importance of our students experiencing joy and pride in their learning. And that is centered around some of the instructional leadership work that we've been focusing on for all of our school and teaching and learning leaders. There are 20 teaching and learning leaders, and we have 44 schools represented. So all of our principals and assistant principals are really focused on the learning and the implementation this year. And so it's been really exciting, and the feedback's been really positive thus far.
This is why I love talking to you, right? Because you do focus on your North Star, the district's North Star. You're always focused on excellence for students and the opportunities we need to keep providing them. We know how complex education is these days. We know that funding is dropping everywhere. There are just challenges at the state level, at the local district level. And we also know that we have an election coming up. There's just so much happening, right? But you stay focused on that North Star. One of the
Yeah.
things I am so excited about is highlighting the Kent School District because you have several decades of amazing history in terms of being recognized for being at the forefront of bringing technology and innovations into the
Mhm.
classrooms and being very student focused with that. You've won the Microsoft Award for being one of the most internationally kind of innovative models in the classroom. You've been part of the Digital Promise League of Innovative Schools. So there's a long history. This is not new work that you're leaning into in terms of AI and technology, but we have new innovations happening. So love to dig in more on that and really understand, Rebecca, your passion for why technology is such a critical tool in how you are structuring teaching and learning for kids today.
Well, I will start with our strategic plan. We're in year two. Our first goal is that our students will be global citizens, and it is our responsibility to ensure that they are ready for learning and experiencing life and being leaders outside of their K-12 experience. So that being said, those 21st century skills that students need to build are essential. It is our priority and obligation to ensure that our students are ready to be global citizens. A lot of our curriculum is digitally based, and so we know that our students and adults everywhere across the world are dependent on the digital content. And so our students are engaging in their learning, their assessments, their interventions, their creating, their critical thinking, all digitally based. And as we think about our students and their digital experiences and preparing to be global citizens, we want them to be ready for careers. We are really excited about a partnership we had with the city of Kent. And we did an external evaluation of where are we in our career connected pathway experiences for students and how are we leveraging or not leveraging the business partnerships that we are surrounded. by. We have Boeing, we have Blue Origin, we have many opportunities for apprenticeship. And so the city has been really generous in providing us with some funding to be able to expand those business partnerships with our school district, to increase apprenticeships, and to increase career-connected pathway learning content and curriculum, not just at the secondary CTE level, but from elementary, middle, and high school. And so we have all of these opportunities around CTE, the everyday digital learning and curriculum, and the importance of recognizing that we need our students to be ready and to be competitive when they leave our school district.
And what's there's a context and reality, right, to all this innovation. So you have partnerships that you lean into, and I love that because bringing in that perspective of business and industry, and
Mhm.
bringing local city partners is really important. But at the same time, we know that there's this broader state context, and it's not just a state context. Certainly, we're watching it here in Washington, but there's also a national context of funding that is not sufficient in education.
Mhm.
And despite the kind of innovations we really need to be bringing in for our schools to and our students to experience, but also enrollment overall has been on the decline for over a decade across this country. And so, it's not a one for one. If you have 100 students leave, there's not a comparable amount per student. You still
Mhm.
need the teachers, you still need the innovations, you still need the materials and so forth. And so, how is this challenging the Kent School District? How is this challenging your ability to continue in this innovation work?
The budget impacts?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Like I mentioned, we are doing more with less. And so how do you build that internal capacity to then ensure that that is coherent across all 44 schools? That there is coherence in the way that we are looking at what is high quality instruction, that there's coherence in experiences for students in those career connected pathways around STEM. I think the greatest challenge is once we build that internal capacity, and we might have 1 year of success of building some of that capacity, how do we ensure the sustainability of the work? And so that's why when we say that we're investing in instructional leadership this year, it's not just the principals, it's not just the teaching and learning executive directors, it is the assistant principals, it is the assistant directors. Because when we invest and when we do that shared learning, we are building a culture and we're building common expectations and that coherence, which is a priority of our superintendent. And so with that coherence and taking what we can in the moments we have with the budget that we have and with the staffing that we have, I believe that that will build sustainability because we
I
have
love
so,
that focus.
yeah, yeah.
I love that focus. I mean, it's really, the capacity you invest in today is capacity you have for tomorrow as
Mhm.
budgets go up and down. And it
Yeah.
still allows for a tremendous amount of work and focus and intention to happen. And so I love the way you have strategically approached this. And I know
Mhm.
your superintendent, Israel Vela, is also in the midst of working with his board and with the community and the internal staff, parents, students, et cetera, to figure out this capital and technology levy that's coming up for a vote. I
Yeah.
believe it's about $32 million. Correct me if I'm wrong around that. But that vote's coming up. We know that budgets need to be supplemented. We know
Mhm.
how important that is. And so, how do you ensure while those conversations are happening and the levy may or may not pass, right? And I wish you all the best in that passing so that you
Yeah.
continue to do the replacement work that's needed, right? Um, how do you keep people focused on we still need to keep the work going?
Mhm. It's inevitable. I think we're going to talk about AI in a moment here, but AI surrounds us all. Digital content surrounds us all. And what is inevitable and what is non-negotiable is that we build our students' digital and media literacy. And in order to do that, we need to think about how we can leverage additional professional development and supports through potential levy funding. But if not, how we continue to build internal capacity by being really intentional in the way that we are integrating technology into core learning, that it's not a one-off, that media literacy does not live alone, it's not a standalone, but how do we thoughtfully integrate that into the way that students are engaging with social studies or ELA resources? How do we make sure that students are able to differentiate between real news and fake news, which we see is so prevalent right now, especially in our political climate? And so how do we make sure that with or without this funding to prioritize the importance of this technology integration, again, so that our students are prepared to be strong, competitive global citizens when they leave our time here in KSD?
Rebecca, I'm glad you raised and started to talk about the topic of AI because we know that it was just a short while ago, November 2022, all of a sudden we were all faced with something called Chat GPT.
Yep.
And it's amazing how quickly, right, the use and use cases spread as people started exploring this. It was the first time that AI is, now more ubiquitous and whether you're a student on your own at home or whether you're a parent, a grandparent, or you're formally using this in business and industry and education, there is just this explosion of ideas around how to use AI and how to leverage it for different use cases.
Mhm.
Talk about the use case of teaching and learning. How are you and your team kind of thinking about the ways in which you use this to
Mhm.
enhance teaching and learning, but also to prepare students for the future, their future?
Thank you for that question. It's an area that I'm really passionate about and leaning in. I think that there's a lot of admiration of the concept of AI. And I've been in many national conferences where I hear keynote speakers talk about the concept. When I get a little, what's the right term? When I kind of just question how much ground level experience and knowledge do we have in the field, I really lean in and try to immerse myself in the learning. And so this is an area that I've become very passionate about because AI can be weaponized to catch students on academic integrity. I've seen that happen with my own child in some case that has happened. They didn't use it to turn in an assignment, but I've just heard some expectations and guidance around that. That's why I think it's so important that you're being intentional about what does this look like at the system level. So first of all, there are policies and accessible use policies that we know govern our school boards, and we do have a legislative policy that's available to us to adopt. What we are doing in Kent School District is first starting with a co-constructed vision of what is artificial intelligence in KSD. That involved our central office leaders, school-based staff, and students. And we have a draft of what that vision is. And then we used our state OSPI human-centered AI principles to guide and be the foundation for the way that we wanted to construct our guiding principles around our vision. And one of the things that we leaned in on was the danger of racial, gender, you name it, biases that could be troublesome with the way that we engage with AI. And so those are some of the guiding principles that will drive the practical guidance that we are now building this school year. We have an amazing team leading that work, and they are going to embark on doing some co-construction around student and adult best practices. That will then inform the way that we want to bring forward an AI policy to our school board. That will help to inform the kind of digital tools and AI tools that we would approve of in our district, ensuring that those biases are removed, ensuring that our students have the data privacy in their AI interactions, et cetera, et cetera. So there's some exciting intentional work that we are doing, and the team has developed this beautiful roadmap that is going to take us in that direction. And we will probably be able to then share that with our school board to say, we've done this ground level work to now present this to you, instead of simply just accepting a policy as is. So really personalizing it to who we are in KSD.
It's certainly a lot of work to think about how you
Yeah,
bring this into your existing systems.
yeah.
And you talked about the things like bias and safety and data integrity. All of those things are critical. One of the things that's always been so impressive about the Kent schools and its approach over the last decades is that while you're always ensuring that safety and those protocols and those policies on that end, you don't do that necessarily first before getting to the innovation. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the innovation work is something that you do hand in hand, and it's leadership kind of mindset that you bring into your role and how you work with your staff. And really appreciate that side of it, which is the innovation side. Thinking about how AI and the wealth of opportunities for innovation show up in the classroom.
Mm.
Right, to really empower students in a different way in terms of a pedagogical construct.
Mm-hmm. I think that when we ask students to construct something, that they are able to, at their fingertips with great use of AI, they are able to bring in multiple resources in ways that they haven't been able to before. That they are able to use that to really inform a bigger picture or more global perspective of the way that they are learning and engaging with content. It will also help them to think about ways to construct and bring in ideas that they may have not simply been able to do outside of AI. I also think that there's opportunities to build those critical thinking skills when we ask students to not just use AI to go find a thing, but to compare and contrast and to understand those different resources that they might be able to quickly and efficiently pull from AI, but then doing something and constructing and applying what they've learned from that. And so that intentional use is something that we're really looking forward to providing some guidance around so that we're calibrated and that adults and students feel equipped and empowered and confident in the use rather than rushing to academic integrity concerns.
Yeah, and I agree that there's this tremendous opportunity on the application side of AI for students to construct, to design, to start using learning time very differently, which means that teachers need to think about their pedagogy differently. It's just an exciting time, and I have a hard time getting caught up in kind of the fears of it. And I know there were some fears and those are legitimate, right? It's because we want to make sure we have a safe learning environment and the correct utilization of tools. But I
Yeah.
am so excited about the things that are going to come from engaging students in this way through AI-enabled tools and technologies because they push us, right? Like we're not the ones designing it. We're going to expose them to it, and then they're going to be the designers of these new concepts. And it's just exciting, Rebecca. I'm excited to keep like exploring what's happening with the Kent School District. We run out of time very quickly when we have these conversations because there's so much to share and learn from one another. What's your vision for what this may look like or what schools will look like in the next 10 years?
I think that our students are going to be so sharp They are going to be learning and showing their understanding in different ways that makes me excited. I am very passionate, and that's a story for another day, around serving the whole child. How are we seeing and knowing the whole child? And I think that these innovative experiences and ways that students can show and demonstrate their learning outside of high stakes accountability and assessments really is going to provide opportunity for students to show who they are in different ways. Bringing in more student voice and student agency, I think, is going to be an inevitable. Right now, the way we design instruction and we are traditionally teaching in the classroom allows for us to choose whether or not agency is there for students. And I think with the innovation, there really isn't going to be an option. Students are going to have agencies in the way that they engage with their learning and the way that they demonstrate their understanding of the learning.
Well, Dr. Kim, as the Associate Superintendent of Teaching and Learning for the Kent Public School Districts, I have to give you a shout out for what I always hear coming from your presentations and your discussions, which is you are always about the whole child. You are always about the student showing up as their full selves, not leaving anything at the door, having a space that honors and respects them. And so I thank you for leading in that way. And I also thank you because I am so excited that you're going to be at our Tech Power and Equity Conference in Phoenix, Arizona, sharing of the work that's happening in the Kent public schools, along with other leaders across the nation. So thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to see you again in January. Maybe somewhere in between then, since we live in the same state.
That's right. We have to get together. Thank you.
Thank you.